Ta-da. I'm so old fashioned. I do da-da when we do things work out. Sorry about that. So here we are again. This is July 25th, 2022. I thought I would do an introduction on the tree of life because I've been bringing it up, but I haven't really talked about it in depth. Eli, I'm going to ask you to go to mute.
Okay, yeah, I just wanted to, can I do one plug real quick?
Yeah.
Real fast?
Yes.
Just for anyone watching that doesn't have them, can you see this? Can people see this?
A little lower and closer. Yeah, now that's good.
Okay, so the website, your website has the tarot cards that you can color now, and they're pretty awesome. So if you guys don't have them, they're very nice, and they come in this nice little pouch. Anyway, so these are the ones that we're studying. If anyone doesn't have them, and they can get them. Pretty cool.
Thank you, Eli.
Yeah. Okay, that's all.
Yeah, the idea of coloring the cards is to get them in front of you. And they're not really to get them in front of your conscious mind. It's to get them in front of your subconscious mind. We're sort of working the back door with the tarot on your mind because we're so ingrained in living in the world and it's not a negative thing. It's when we say a mass mind, it's just the group mind of the planet Earth. And you can also say the group mind of, the area in which you live, the country you live in, the state, that each of those have a mind, and your family has its own mind, I'm sure. So there's a mind that's developed among the individuals in it, and we call it a mass mind. One of the things about the Kabbalah is to open up to new things that aren't normally discussed in everyday life, such as paying your bills, going to school, getting an education, learning a trade, having a family, all the mundane things that we need to go through to live on the planet Earth. And then there's the more spiritual side of things. So when we talk about the mass mind, it would imply, or we're discussing the mind of the planet Earth, which takes care of all the mundane things on the planet. Okay, so I thought I would do an introduction on the tree of life, just briefly. And you've all seen it. And if you look at it, you can see the cards we've talked about so far. We're going to be talking about the Empress card today, but I thought I'd give you an idea because we hadn't really gotten into detail, though I've brought it up in the last two classes. You'll notice something intriguing is the tree of life is upside down. The roots are above. And at the bottom is the planet Earth, or Earth. Fire, air, earth, and water. So everything's upside down on the earth, on our earth. It's reversed. And that idea that things are somewhat reversed is helpful to keep in the back of your mind and keeps your mind open to learning new things. But here you have also the concept that the source of everything is within you, is from God, which is within you. If God wasn't within you, you wouldn't be able to be here to take the class. You just wouldn't be. You wouldn't exist. So in that regard, the tree of life represents that from within you out, from the source within you, everything is manifest and created. So you've got three, let's just go through them. I really love this particular diagram of the tree of life. It demonstrates what an amazing filing system this is. Here you have the 22 major arcanic keys or tarot cards combined with symbols of the planets, the signs of the zodiac, which are illustrating all 32 of the paths of wisdom with their descriptions and references to the human body. You see the 10 numbered Sephiroth, which is plural, and those are these circles in both English and Hebrew. Sephiroth, which is singular, means enumeration or counting. They are numberings, the many from the one, and all in living color. So this is the one at the top, the crown. How did God know that we'd all be walking around someday with cell phones or sitting in front of computers and using screens for TV, games, and photos? How did he know that every time we go to use these devices, we'd have to open a file? We click on a program or app and search the files for what we want to look at or play with or create with. Even our daily calendar is in a file on our phone, and all our friends and photos are there too. And we use the cloud rather than file cabinets to keep our files safe. Such an apt name, the cloud, wouldn't you say? We learn about God and our path of return to him through a system of files called the Kabbalah. It was created a long time ago, but we're now catching up on a grand scale. At the turn of this century, we entered the age of Aquarius, which means love, brotherhood, unity, and integrity. This age is also strongly linked to technology and communication. I just want to mention, we're working on the love, brotherhood, unity, and integrity part. That's this age. And it lasts for 2,000 years. So we have time to get there. So don't panic if things don't look really friendly out there sometimes. The file system that the Tree of Life refers to is inside of us, closer than our hands and our feet. So as we learn about using files in our everyday lives, we can take that awareness and use it in the discovery of what is going on within ourselves. And we don't have to do it all at once. We can look at just one file at a time. If you've been reading through my comments on the various tarot cards, you may have realized by now that each one deals with either a different aspect of your life or how to conduct it in such a way that whatever life throws at you, you'll land on your feet or know how to duck in time. And even more so, the opportunity of a joyful life is quite possible. Being on the planet Earth can be a very disturbing experience. When we think we have all our ducks in order, someone comes along and pulls one out. With that in mind, we have to learn about how to operate on the earth on many levels, not just the material level. All you see is not all there is. All you see is the result of what is. The inner being creating out through each of us. And that's another thing to think about. Creation isn't out there separate from ourselves. We are co-creators, which is responsibility on steroids. So we start to learn by studying the Kabbalah to manage our thinking and then at some point control it. But managing it is the starting point. When things flit through your mind and you go, I don't think I want to think about that today, you can just be quiet and stop it. And the Kabbalah and the other teachings that are in this, because it's not just the Kabbalah, will show you how through the cards. As you can see, all of the major arcana tarot cards are on the tree. Of course, the placement of the cards on the various paths is important, just as the placement of symbols on the cards is important. The meaning of the Hebrew letters on each of the cards is marked on the paths. For example, the Hebrew letter Beth on the magician key means house. Look at the purple path between the Sephiroth 1 and 3. 1 and 3. in this particular demonstration, the path is not colored, but it is purple behind the magician. Next to it is the magician. On the path, you see the Hebrew letter for Beth. Let's see if that's up on the other one. I don't think so. No. So you have the Hebrew letter for Beth, which is actually on the card itself. And it means house, the word house, and the number 11, which is the path number. So you have 10 sephiroths, just so this makes, so you have 1, 2, 3, and then it's like a zigzag or lightning, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and then the first path. This one is 11. So then the paths start numbering. So that's where you get all of the paths. They start with the 10 circles, and then we go to the paths. Let's look at the 10 sephirah or spheres. They are the building blocks of the tree, and therefore the first 10 paths on it. The remaining 22 paths have the tarot keys on them and are the lines between the spheres. The spheres stand for 10 aspects of God. That's why I like, one of the things about creation is trying to wrap your mind around it, your brain, your thought, your ability to grasp what is going on in the world and in creation. And it's difficult because there are other dimensions. So something you can understand, you may not figure out in your head. And I'm sure all of you have had aha moments when you're having something difficult, and then all of a sudden you get a picture and you go, oh, that's the right way to do it. Or I'll try that. Or that's just the word I wanted. Those aha moments are little breakthroughs from a higher rate of vibration that you are tuned into, that you have available to you at all times and have just forgotten. So the 10 aspects of God, this is delightful because it compartmentalizes things about creation so we can grasp them to the point where we're comfortable, and then we can have our conversation with our creator. That a conversation remembers two ways. You talk, you listen, God talks, and you listen, and God listens to you. It's two ways. Most people just pray and hope to God what they're praying for works. You can actually talk and have a conversation, just you and your creator. Jesus said, everything I do, you can do and greater. So you either trust that or you don't. And that's the whole underlying premise, is to build up your trust with your creator one-on-one. So when you look at and think about the 10 Sephiroth, you are actually looking at yourself. That is the part of you that is one with the divine, the part of you that you've forgotten about, but nags at you from time to time. The part of you that you are now getting to know better. And the more you get to know this part of yourself, the more lovely your life will become. Guaranteed. There'll be bumps, yeah, because without chaos, there is no change. But they're not as dramatic after a while. The tree is actually upside down. The roots are at the top and the fruit is at the bottom, which is fire, air, earth, and water. This expresses the idea that a spiritual life can only be rooted in that which is above us in consciousness. This is not the physical sky, but the finer, subtler areas of the heaven worlds from whence we come. Thus, above is identical with within. The physical manifestation of the tree is its fruit, which can be seen in the world of the four elements where we currently reside. Beginning at the top, these Sephiroth or spheres are called the progressive materialization of ideas in the mind of God. The progressive materialization of ideas in the mind of God. They all show stages of God's creative evolution. On the way of return from the bottom of the tree to the top, as man lifts his consciousness to a higher level, his presence is revealed more and more as man draws closer to his source. Around the 14th century, a book called The Book of Formation, which is this little book here, was written on the Kabbalah. Prior to that, this tradition was only passed on by word of mouth. One of the translations of the Book of Formation is by Knut Stenrig. In his notes, he wrote, "The 32 paths of wisdom are 32 notions which comprehend the whole creation. Under these fundamental ideas, all that exists is classified. When God wrote a number or a letter in each of these paths, forces were created from which everything was formed. By means of these symbols, otherwise known as numbers and letters, these forces became apprehensible to the human mind. They act as 32 different aspects of awareness of one single reality, each a different expression of the whole." So this is a great book. I actually quote out of it. It's a very simple book. He did a great translation. Yeah, I'm glad I picked it up. It was helpful for me. You'll see me mention it throughout when I'm discussing the cards. In the Book of Formation, the tree is described. All 10 are eternal, and they are the substance of all that is, the form to be supplied by the 22 letters. The tree is described. All 10 are eternal, and they are the substance of all that is, the form to be supplied by the 22 letters. They represent the contrast between substance and form, and creation must resolve that contrast with God as the solvent. In this way, existence, or the combination of form and substance, takes on reality. All of these are things you could meditate on. You could think about and just contemplate what is being talked about here. It's very simple and very it has the ability to trigger various thoughts within you that will be quite helpful. Numerically, the 0 doesn't represent one of the spheres, but rather the background of the whole tree, and thus the absolute or nameless root of all manifestation. So there you have the colors of the paths. There's that purple I was talking about. The first sphere is called the crown, kether in Hebrew, and it symbolizes the mystical point or first force of whirling energy at the center of a circle. Here we have the focusing of power and the beginning of all things. The second sphere is called wisdom, Chokmah, the second power of God. It is located at the top of the right pillar and represents the father principle in creation. It is the beginning of polarity, because remember, we're going from all is one to duality. We are in a state of duality. And because of that, our mind sometimes cannot grasp certain things. So this third sphere is called understanding over here. Bina, the third power of God, and thus the third point on the supernull triangle, which is these three, which consists of the top 3 spheres. It is the mother principle in all nature. It is at the top of the left pillar of the tree. As the life force begins to limit itself, energy condenses itself and marks the beginning of generation. So the life force is basically limiting itself to come into duality. The remaining 7, these guys all down here, these colorful guys, The remaining 7 spheres, 4 through 10, come from here, come from the 3rd sphere. They emanate from here. It's like a zigzag. Again, it goes the 3, and then it doesn't come from here and go down. It goes across, and then across, 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 across. And then it comes to us here on planet Earth, down here at the bottom. They represent the 7 days of creation. Genesis is fascinating when you have the tree of life in front of you. You get a better idea of Genesis. So the 4th sphere is called mercy, chesed, the 4th power of God, and represents cosmic memory, looking back to the source of all. It represents power in action and demonstrates beneficence, mildness, and might. This is the first day of biblical creation. The 5th sphere is called severity, over here, the 5th power of God. This represents the operation of cosmic law, which may seem severe if you are acting contrary to it. It's those kind of ouch moments when you didn't quite do something right and it didn't work out and you're really uncomfortable. The 6th sphere is called beauty, Tipperath. There it is in the middle. Interesting. Do you notice that all the spheres go to the center, to 6? They all go to it, are attached to it, every single one. The 6th sphere is called beauty, Tipperath, the 6th power of God. It represents the cosmic sun, and divine love. Because we see the sun, which is the cosmic son of God, which each of you are a son of God. And we also accept that the sun in the sky, up there in the sky, the sun is the first sun, the first light of God in our solar system. We're not working on other solar systems. We're just working in our own. It's at the center of the tree and thereby represents harmony, symmetry, and balancing of all opposites. It is also the mediator between the archetypal worlds above and the human realms below. It is the point of the 2nd triad, which is the reverse of the 1st and thus reflects it. 2nd triad, right there, 1, 2, 3, and reflects these 3. So we're talking about that. And it's the mediator. Interesting. And Jesus is the mediator between us and Jesus Christ. The Christ is the mediator between us and everything else, the whole universe. He's like the transforming unit. He's a transformer. He takes that outrageous amount of energy and brings it down to where we can handle it. And then at that point, once we start to handle it, we can rise up in it. So us in our little 3rd dimension, and I was talking to someone and I was saying, yes, there is a 4th dimension, but we operate at like 3.5. We sort of move in and out of it because we use our intuition, and that's that half. And it's getting your toes wet, not jumping in at the deep end of the pool, basically. So thank God for Jesus, because he's been there, done that, and shows up in our lives and says, and you can too, but we'll take it slow. The 7th sphere is called victory, Netzach, the 7th power of God. Here we have mastery through victory over the desire nature. This is the area of Venus and emotions. It is the 4th day of biblical creation. We talked about desire yesterday, that the magician, the doer, can't get anything done unless he puts on that red cloak, which is the cloak of desire. And here we're talking about desire is very important in order to get things done, but also mastery of it so that things get done properly for you. This is the area of Venus and emotions. It is the 4th day of biblical creation. The eighth sphere is called splendor, Hod, the eighth power of God. It represents the intellect. It balances with victory opposite, and you've got victory opposite. See if I can, these two. And relates to vibration and infinity. It is the realm of Mercury and the Hermetic teachings. The ninth sphere is called foundation, right here. Yes, it. The ninth power of God, omnipotent. Here we have the astral and lunar realm of the formative state of consciousness, the automatic consciousness and the heaven world. This is the astral plane. And the last is the 10th sphere is called kingdom, Malkuth, the 10th power of God and outward manifestation of creation. Everything you see out here, including, on the computer, my pen, there we are. The outward manifestation of creation, or kingdom of heaven established in the world of the four elements. Oh, you're in heaven. Are you making the best of it? Heaven is not out there 3 planets past Mars. That kind of relates to the flat Earth theory. And we all discovered the Earth is not flat. And heaven is not up there. Heaven is inside you and here on Earth. Isn't that something to look forward to? If you haven't quite got it right yet, and your neighbors don't either. You wonder about your neighbors, I'm sure, sometimes. So, kingdom of heaven established in the world of the four elements. On the diagram, they are fire, air, earth, and water. The number 10 indicates the completion of a cycle, ready to start over on a higher level, always moving in a spiral fashion and evolving upwards. That's epigenesis. You will never be, even 10 minutes ago, where you are now. Where you were then, you will never be that in that place again. It's a spiral. There's not a circle. That's epigenesis. That's how we evolve. That's why we don't get too enchanted with previous lives, because your consciousness now could never fit into the consciousness of whatever body you were in at another time previously. So just go forward. This is the last of the 7 spheres, numbered 4 through 10, which emanated from sphere 3 above, called understanding. Thus, we have also arrived at the 7th day of biblical creation. It all ties together on one neat little diagram. It's so like diagrams. In a nutshell, there is a game plan for getting back to God, aka the return. It is the hero's journey, because you really need guts to do this. Your friends may not agree with you. They might like you, but they may not want to hear about this. You have to have guts to do this. But once you do, things go a lot easier for you, and no one can touch you. The diagram is a brief outline of the various components that we will go through on the path of return. Each of the 22 tarot keys helps us to understand the work that lies before us, the hurdles that we must overcome, the recognition, recognize. We must recognize our world. The world doesn't change. We just change how we see it. And remember, there's only 3 consciousnesses, 3 beings, 3 characters in this book called the tarot. There's only 3. There's the conscious mind, superconscious mind, and subconscious mind. And we're here to learn how to work them to our benefit, to the benefit of being the God being that we are. This is a path of remembering ourselves and our great inheritance waiting for us even now. Our inheritance. You have many tools at your disposal to effect change in your life, developing the ability to quiet your mind, to allow yourself time to meditate in the midst of a busy life, to maintain a healthy body, And healthy thinking is very important. Positive, healthy thinking. The doors, like, just don't worry about stuff. Really, when I'm thinking I'm worrying about something, I take it, I put it on a sticky, and I have an altar in my house, and I put it on the altar and I go, you fix that, God. That one, I don't want to worry. And then I go about my day, whatever I have to do. A healthy body is eating proper food. Your gut determines the health of your nervous system. Various people have discovered that over the last several thousand years, that what you ingest determines the health of your nervous system. And it all comes up. They actually called it, the alchemists called a white child that's in your gut, they called it mother's milk, because that then goes out and determines the health of your nervous system. So be careful what you eat. And always, when you get to this, cross the street, look both ways before you step out in front of a car. Really. I mean, real basic stuff your mom taught you when you were little.
Your dad.
Or your dad. The doors will open for you if you allow them to and give them space to do so. It can be very difficult to make changes in your habits, but if you really want to, one step at a time, the entire cosmos will come to you with open arms and bring you home. Yeah, this is one of those movies that has a positive ending. Okay, so let's get into the lovely, charming Empress. So we'll go all the way up here. So I just wanted to give you guys an idea of what the tarot cards are sort of draped over. And let's go to the Empress. And there she is. Everything is green. Here we meet the Empress. She is just something else. Key 3 of the tarot. The title means literally, she who sets in order. She is the feminine ruling power and the consort of the emperor, key 4, who we will probably meet next week. She is a different aspect of your feminine self. This is in stark contrast to the high priestess, representative of the cold virginity of a cloistered devotee of the gods. Also, being a virgin element, nothing's happened yet. Yet this lady is pregnant, the Empress. This is in stark contrast to the high priestess, representative of the cold virginity of a cloistered devotee of the gods. The pregnant Empress sits within a warm, rich, and fertile garden. Even the cube upon which she sits is detailed and carefully arranged. Just a reminder about cubes and all of the archetypes of the 7 cards across the top of the tarot tableau. Trying to think if one of them does not sit on a cube. Those that sit on a cube, let me see if I can pull this over. Yes, we have one. The lovers do not have a cube in them. The cube is made of stone in the tarot deck. And the term stone in Hebrew is ehben, E-H-B-E-N. And the translation is father, son. So it's just like they're all sitting and resting on something because they're resting on the knowing and trust that the father and son are one. And they trust that consciousness. So in trusting it, of course, hers is quite elaborate because she's the subconscious mind. But the most important thing is to realize if you're all sitting here watching me, if someone walked behind you and yanked the chair out from under you, that would be very disorienting, wouldn't it? So you have to figure the level of trust you have to have in God in order to be at the consciousness of these various characters in the tarot deck. The rich man came to Jesus and said, I've done everything I'm supposed to do according to the law. I take care of my kids. I take care of my parents. I give to the poor. I did all these things. And Jesus said to him, that's fantastic. I love you. You've done all the right things. And then Jesus said, now give up everything, sell it, give the money to the poor, pick up your cross and follow me. And the rich man said, no, I can't do that. That's too much. The reality is he was asking the rich man to trust him. It's a foundation of trust. To trust your inner knowing. So you have to develop that knowing. It wasn't because he was giving up his money. The rich man would get a whole lot richer because if he trusted, he wouldn't have those limitations. He would have everything he needed. He'd have all the food he needed. He'd be in good health and he'd live forever. That's the trust. When you trust creation, which wraps its arms around you and gives you everything you want. So Jesus wasn't talking about wealth. He was talking about trust. And you have to learn that. It's called self-confidence, but now not in yourself, but in your relationship with creation. To have an answer when you need it, to be standing there in the street and something violent's going on and you go, what should I do? And you get exactly what you need to do. And you're completely calm and at peace. Even the cube upon which she sits is detailed and carefully arranged. The Hebrew letter D is Dalet and means the leaf of a door. So you got a little door down here in the card. That's the part of a door that swings through which you would pass, coming and going. Some would say that Dalet represents the womb as the door of life. So what does a door represent? It suggests protection and safekeeping. This is a clue to her mode of consciousness. Here we're looking at personal safety and self-preservation. You don't want to mess with the Empress. Also, she serves as a symbol for all activities that deal with the storage, conservation, and development of anything that is useful. Dalet is a double letter in the Hebrew alphabet, meaning that it can be pronounced two different ways, and the polarities, wisdom and folly, are assigned to it. So how does she affect your life? The Empress represents your feminine, subconscious mind. The Magician is your self-conscious mind. What he puts into play using observation and inductive reasoning, she multiplies. The subconscious mind's power of deduction multiplies an original premise into a multitude of consequences and applications. Wisdom will arise from an accurate and profound premise. Thus, we have this beautiful garden. Folly will arise if the premise is superficial or inexact. Folly uses the creative imagination in a destructive way. Underlying premise. What is your underlying premise as you go throughout the day? The underlying premise is your belief, where you place your trust. You can start questioning yourself. So, where did I get that idea from? What is my assumption as to the results of me acting a certain way? In the mind of God, there is only mind. We talked about the fishes last week. The two little fish that are floating around in the ocean talking about, have you seen the ocean? No, I haven't seen the ocean. The ocean's somewhere around here. Well, you're floating around in the mind of God. Have you seen the mind of God? Yes, actually, you can see it. It will be brilliant light. Underlying premise. What are your underlying premises as to how you conduct your life? And then you'll see whether they're real or not, if they work. But that's the wonder of being part of creation and the Son of God, is God loves you so much, he gives you everything you ask for. And the high priestess multiplies it. So you won't just get some simple thing. So say you've put something into action, you've created something, and then your underlying premise is a little off. You will get it returned to you in a myriad of fashions. And you'll just sit there and go, I really didn't want all of that. Why do I keep getting more of it? Because God loves you and you will get everything you ask for. So you've got to be real clear about what you ask for. Her foot represents understanding, and it's yellow. So there you are. There's the foot. So here we have, okay, and it's yellow color, signifies intellect. Let me do this. There we go. You can see that better.
Nice.
So here we have demonstrated conscious understanding of the cyclical nature, the crescent moon, there you go, that underlies all life expression. So that's something to think about. Everything goes in cycles. She is called the Empress because the subconscious mind has control over all sequences of development in the material world. She's in charge of manifestation. Be careful what you focus on, what you think about. If you are angry or happy, the Empress will give it to you in a multiple of ways. The Empress is the personification of love and is here to fulfill your every need and desire, whether it be peace or joy or what you fear. A function of this key is imagination, or embroidering fact with fancy to elaborate the outcome. Yes, you must be careful. If you are angry or happy or something you're afraid of, she will deliver it to you. How do you get past that? The rest of the cards will tell you how to work with this, because you've got this. This is in you. This is the way creation works. So what you think about is what you get. Where you focus your attention is what you get. The idea is redirect your attention. You don't have to fix whatever's bugging you. You just have to redirect your attention, and it will bring to you creation. The mind we float around in will deliver a better life. It's very simple. Her function is imagination. So if you can imagine something you're afraid of, and you will get it in every way you could possibly imagine, even catching your finger in the refrigerator door. I mean, it's just on and on. You have to pay attention to life. So she's imagination, and it's lovely. Look at all the beauty on this card. She is your personal fulfillment center. She's Amazon on steroids. Yeah, there's the lady right there. Anything you want. Understanding this and how she works can give you a fabulous life. Your choice, your creation. What did you think about or observe today? That's multiplying itself into your future experiences. This is lovely. Does it serve you or will it destroy you? If you have thoughts of hatred, fear, and criticism, the Empress will fill your life with those. Sorry, I was letting someone in. With those very same thoughts, but now directed at you from others or through events. I'll repeat that. If you have thoughts of hatred, fear, and criticism is very subtle, but now directed at you from others or through events. So when you put that out there, you want to be sure to get out of the way when it comes back, because it will. If your thoughts are filled with love and compassion, she will tenderly fill your life with grace and those who will treat you with love and compassion. That's fabulous. So where do you place your trust? Once again, in this key, the stream of consciousness over there, watering her little garden, it's very nice. That's the stream of consciousness. Watering the garden is coming from the high priestess, but it is directed and modified by the magician. The pool of water is the accumulation of influences coming from the magician. The water makes the garden fertile. The water falling into the pool represents the way that power descends from above. Above means within in the tarot, so it comes from here out, in the heart center. In the tree of life, power descends in an orderly fashion from one center to another towards its manifestation in earth. The 10th emanation at the bottom called the kingdom. Venus is the planet belonging to the letter Dalet. So this card has many references to Venus. The Empress is very pregnant, and Venus presides over childbirth. She is considered the mother goddess. Venus is the patroness of love, beauty, and art. She rules the sense of touch, which ties her into a powerful influence on our desire nature. Red is the color of desire and activity. So we have here 5 roses representing the 5 senses, sitting right there behind her. And they're colored red to indicate her active desire nature. All the green, Venus's color is green. Green is a color of symmetry and balance. It occupies the central position in the solar spectrum. The solar spectrum, that ring, green is right there in the center. Midway between hot, fiery red and cold, electrical violet, she is clothed in green. In the background are cypress trees. They are sacred to Venus. Myrtle leaves, which are tokens of immortality, create her crown of authority in the form of a wreath. The fool also wears the same wreath of myrtle leaves on his head. So green. So when you get your next Valentine and it's red from someone, that's desire and activity heading for you. As opposed to a nice, quiet green walk in the park, which is a deep love and balanced love and balanced life. But notice right over her heart is this triangle, and it's active. Her heart is active. Let's continue. The 10 cypress trees behind her also refer to the 10 Sephiroth, or circles of energy emanations on the tree of life. So there's 10 of those little trees back there. There is a dove in the trees over here, once again directing our attention to Venus and to peace and the Holy Spirit. Venus represents the entire support system, which makes it possible for us to exist on this planet. So that's what she represents. As you learn to place your attention on the positive and on the Empress, we'll keep the greening of our planet. You start to understand that all of creation comes through each of you. It's not out here coming at you. It's coming from your heart out. So where your consciousness is what you create in your life. The things you have difficulties with will be solved because you're putting your trust in God to solve them. We have a planet that's having difficulties. If all of you really had your act together on this one, there'd be a lot less problems because your consciousness, because God works through you. You're a son of God. You are a star. The sun in heaven is a star, our star. You are the star of your solar system, your body. And once you get a grip on that consciously, it makes a huge difference in your life, but also in the lives of those people that are around you and are on this planet. By the red roses, we see a small bee. In Egyptian hieroglyphics, the bee was related to royalty because of its organization of the hive. Mother Nature makes sure the race continues. The woman within each of us is our creative imagination. So the little bee, I'm trying to think, he's right here. There's a little bee. It's hard to see, but when you get your deck of cards, you'll see it better. The male principle that balances the female is the emperor, key 4. The abstract masculine aspect is difficult to approach. The Empress is quite the opposite. She is part of the life we can touch and are close to. Recall that on the magician key, the tool for water is the cup, symbolizing imagination and knowing. This knowing is from experience, not the intellect. Remember on the Fool card, you've got the little white dot symbolizing the intellect that has become, is at a higher rate of vibration. It is more conscientious and it serves the self. Your knowing comes from experience. You ever put your hand on a hot pan? You will never do that again. As a child, I did that with my sister. I was like 4. It was Mother's Day or my mother's birthday, and she was 5. And she said, "We're going to cook breakfast for our mother." And I went, "Oh, yay." We had an electric stove. And so she was in charge, and I was just doing whatever a 4-year-old would do. And Mumsy was upstairs in bed, and she was going to get us, we're going to bring a tray up there. And I wanted to see if the stovetop was hot. So I went to put my hand on it. I never did that again. As we learn from experience, I think her telling me don't do that had no value until I put my hand on it. At which point, of course, we had to deliver breakfast with me, with my hand all wrapped up. And my sister tried to explain to my mother what had happened for making breakfast for her. But it's what works. One thing I'll mention on the Tree of Life is the point right above fire, air, earth, and water, which is the planet Earth where we're residing, is the foundation sphere. And I always remind people that you can talk about this till you're blue in the face. You're sitting up there having intellectual conversation about creation that sets you up at the point of the psychic in foundation, but it doesn't bring it into earth. You got to manifest it through your body and in your life. You can't talk about it. You can talk about it till you're blue in the face, but if you are completely silent and the light radiating out of you is changing yourself and other people, you don't need to say a word. And this deck of cards will help you realize that and help you start to have the experiences you need to know how it works. To have you step out on things that are like the air and they work. And you just go, okay, close my eyes, I'm going to go do that. It's not from the intellect. You got to bring it into earth. You have to actually do things to make these things work. You cannot intellectually get there. But the intellect will guide you because it guided you to listen to me talk about this. The ultimate adventure of the hero's journey is to reach the Holy Grail in one piece. The study of the tarot and the Kabbalah can get you to the point where you can experience all these spiritual truths you've heard about. And the main symbol in key 3 is the heart. In the tarot, the right hand is the active hand. She's holding a 7-sided shield, another reference to Venus ruling love. It's made of copper, the metal assigned to Venus. To connect to the Empress, you must practice love. We can approach nature through science, but the direct approach is through the heart, through feelings. The dove represents the Holy Spirit or life force. Here it's seen moving on the shield of love, not in the head. Meaning is found in the heart. Practicing harmlessness to others is a way to begin. This life force moving in matter consists of life, intelligence, and energy. Alchemy calls it fire. The Kabbalists saying about fire in the water speaks of the fire of love in the Empress's heart. And water is the feminine. Fire in water. Fire moves through water. That light, that power, force, and energy moves through love. And you will learn to create objective love. To be objective. This is really important. You have an atmosphere around your body. Your neighbor has an atmosphere around their body. Your atmosphere is all the energy, goes out about 3 feet, of what you think about all day long and what you do and how you act and your life. And all your things you've learned through books and through experience. That surrounds you. Okay, now you need to speak out to someone. You need to, when you speak, you need to talk through that. Guess what? When you talk to someone, they have their energy around them with all their limitations and all their expectations, et cetera, just like you do. And they could be totally different. So you're talking to someone, you want to convince them of something, except you're hitting their mind that they feel protects them. People are not conscious of this, but it's an energy field. You can feel when you are on the street, say in a city, and someone walks up behind you and gets too close, you can feel them behind you. I've actually stopped, turned around and looked. Because I'm a New Yorker, we do these odd things. Like someone's in my space, I will turn around and look at like, why are you so close to me? So in order to raise up your consciousness and also to see yourself and see another person, you have to learn to become objective about yourself and about other people and not take things personally and start to realize that what's coming out of another person is nothing to do with you. It's coming out of them, like oozing out of them, whether it be love or hate, it's coming out of them. I have actually stood before people and watched a conversation where they're ranting about something. And I kind of see it coming at me and then it kind of drops at my feet in front of me because they're expressing their fears. So in compassion, I am looking at someone who's having a difficult time. And I'm concentrating on the God being that they are, giving life to that, redirecting my energy, seeing this, they're revealing themselves to me. And in compassion, allowing that to be and not reacting it out against them, to them, for them, to make it grow. Instead, it's being objective and loving. Not easy to do, but if you're not used to doing it, when you start studying the cards and put this young woman in front of you, it starts to work on your subconscious mind. So you're more amenable to being that way and being objective around the people you work with. And you will see them differently. And you will not give life to the difficulties they're having in their lives. There is no time, but there is process. That's the killer. Really is no time. You're here forever. We'll have all of eternity if we don't work it out now. They'll do it another time. But there is process. If you get sidetracked from the path, the Empress can wait. Our unfoldment is a natural process. We don't have to make it happen. The magician, our self-conscious mind, initiates this process. Just hold on to your idea, and the Empress Remember, she's your fulfillment center. We'll take care of the rest. The high priestess represents the abstract aspect of substance. The empress represents everything that goes into nature that you can touch. Every manifestation of substance is taken care of by the law of the triangle. That's why this looks like a triangle at her heart. It's not haphazard. This law is understood by the subconscious mind. Note the red triangle over her heart. The law of the triangle is how life manifests through the three sephiroth, or spheres, found at the top of the tree of life. Note that she gazes up. To look up means to look within. She recognizes that her source of power is within her. The wheat field represents nourishment. Oh, it's all down here. Nature keeps us alive. Her scepter means she's queen of the world. Her power is awesome. The scepter shows the globe of this world, indicating her dominion over the physical plane, surmounted by a cross. Here we have the Venus symbol upside down. The stars above her head, which complete her crown of authority, are six-pointed. Those are these little guys. A six-pointed star is a reference to the Star of David, the beloved, and the law of manifestation, as above, so below. Remember, what's within is without. So as above always means within, so below is manifestation. These stars show her attainment in using the laws of the macrocosm. The 12 stars signify the 12 signs of the zodiac. I almost said personality because the 12 signs of the zodiac are 12 personalities. They are the 12 modes of energy by which she is influenced. Her pearls signify Venus and the moon. There are 7 pearls representing the original 7 planets. They are strung at the door of her throat, where the chakra of the thyroid is located. The thyroid is the regulator of the entire metabolism of the body. Her waist and neckline are edged in gold. She is clothed in the color of the sun, which is gold. Her undergarment is white, the color of purity. This is a lovely picture with the globe, the light emanating out from the center of her solar plexus. Here we have the 5 senses as 5 roses. The lover's key 6, you will see the 5 senses as the 5 fruits of Eve. All the movements of living creatures on the physical plane are tied to the senses and the desire nature. Everything that lives seeks pleasure and tries to avoid pain. Yes. Victory lies in understanding our desire nature and learning how to handle it. I'm sure we've all had those experiences. Love is always victorious. Yes, good. Revelation 12:1. And there appeared a great wonder in heaven, a woman clothed with the sun, and the moon under her feet, and upon her head a crown of 12 stars. And there she is, right in front of you. And I think there's a little fish in here in the water, which we didn't get into, but there's a little fishy. Yeah, right down there. So I hope you've enjoyed this. We ran over about 5 minutes. It's fun. She's amazing. I just touched on everything. Your subconscious mind is having a great time. It's just going and sucking this all up. Do I have any questions? Yeah, life is really fun if you can get a handle on it. So I'm going to stop the share. And we can all see each other. It's lovely to have you all here.
Yes.
And enjoying this. It's amazing. The experiences, what will happen as you grow in this is experiences will come to you that are a little different than you're used to. and opportunities to try out being a graceful person, a person who is a little more objective in your life and your thoughts about others, and allowing criticism to take time out from your life and just watch people and have compassion and allow them to express themselves, but also for you to learn who you are. And that's what the cards will help you do, is learn who you are and what you are to do on this planet. It's a lovely experience. And I enjoy it. And I'm very glad you're here. It's been a long time for me. I've been studying this since I was about 25. And I'm way over the hill, but still living it, enjoying it, and being healthy and happy. And maybe there's a gray hair up there somewhere, you know. It just becomes more fun. Life just becomes more and more fun. And that's the whole point. And you become balanced. Being balanced, that's why you get this tree of life. You want to get to the center. That's the fast track, straight up, right up through the sun, right up to Christ. That's the fast track. But you got to have experiences. You can't just chat about this stuff. You have to go out and do things. I remember in the order that I was in, we used to have soup kitchens that we created. And the head of the order would have us serving people because he'd keep us so busy we wouldn't have time to worry about things we were doing. And then we would make food and we would do soup kitchen. And you think you've got problems? Look at this person. You know, they're living on the street. How can you help them? And stop thinking about yourself. Start thinking about how you can help others. Because in the order that I'm in, it's a service order. And service to others, rather than just learning stuff, is how you evolve. It's through the service. Because it places you in a position where you don't know the answers to when you're with people that you don't know. And in serving them, you end up having information come through you that they need, and they're pleased and you're shocked, because you didn't know you knew that. Service does that. It places you in it. So on that note, everyone have a good evening. I hope you enjoyed yourselves. And I will be this is recorded, and I will be putting it up on my Gates of Light YouTube site, Gates of Light Tarot YouTube site. And you can all look at it again. So all the best. Love to all of you.
Thank you very much.
Bye. Bye.